what a lot of people don't think about when they start talking about World Cup is what about the counterfeit products that come in or the human trafficking? When you have crowds this big, criminal activities follow. Well, ICE and HSI are going to be out there every day fighting against the counterfeit tickets, human trafficking, drug smuggling, counterfeit products. They're going to be working hand in hand with CBP along the way. Now, I know there's a lot of acronyms there. So on the bottom of the screen, we're going to tell you what each one of them meant.
We cannot celebrate the World Cup while workers, the tourists, and our immigrant families and local communities are made to feel unsafe in Los Angeles. We should be a city of welcoming everyone and not fear.
I'm carrying my documentation since the first day. I always have with me.
Trump's World Cup problem made its way stateside as workers in Los Angeles made their voices heard. They were saying, if there's ice, we're out. In a powerful stance, local vendors took to SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, one of the biggest US World Cup venues set to host multiple matches, to say that them showing up to work could put them at risk. NBC News reported that vendors planning to sell in and around SoFi Stadium are worried because federal officials have signaled that ICE officers may be present at World Cup matches. Vendors told NBC that working the tournament could mean choosing between making a living and their own personal safety being at risk. Now, that's not exactly the warm and encouraging atmosphere that you'd expect outside the stadium hosting the World Cup.
Outside SoFi Stadium, where thousands of fans will watch World Cup matches, a different kind of pressure is building.
Workers are ready to do whatever it takes.
Maria Hernandez, an organizer for Unite Here Local 11, a hospitality union representing roughly 2,000 stadium workers, is threatening to walk off the job, potentially disrupting one of the biggest sporting events in the world.
A lot of folks feel unsafe, and we have put SoFi Stadium on notice about this. And so to me, it just feels like it's FIFA really that's calling the shots here, and they really have an opportunity to do something right.
Their message to FIFA, soccer's world governing body: act now or face the consequences.
Without these cooks, without these dishwashers, without these servers, there are no games.
At the center of the dispute, working conditions and fears surrounding the presence of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The department says it works with local, state, and federal partners to keep fans, players, and officials safe.
So do you and your colleagues feel like you have to choose between your paycheck and safety? ¿Usted y sus colegas se sienten que tienen que actualmente elegir entre un salario y su seguridad?
Sí. SoFi Stadium cook and union shop steward Isaac Martinez says workers and the union are asking that ICE and Border Patrol play no role in the World Cup.
And the response from federal officials didn't exactly calm nerves either. According to reports, Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin said that ICE agents will be present at World Cup matches and did not rule out immigration-related arrests near venues. And when NBC asked whether street vendors should be concerned, a DHS spokesperson said, yeah, they should. Now, this matters, right? Because the World Cup, it's not just about the games inside the stadiums, right? There are entire ecosystems that help support the fans in attendance. None more so than in Los Angeles, which I guarantee those criticizing these vendors have never stepped foot in the city. I live here, and it's only because of those very workers that events like this are sustainable in one of the biggest cities in the country.
Asking for what they call fair working conditions and demanding affordable housing solutions for stadium employees, adding the stakes are high.
Si nosotros no hay evento.
Martinez says if workers follow through with the strike during the World Cup, it could impact everything from concessions and crowd services to the overall fan experience inside the stadium, adding the strike will happen if their demands aren't met.
Estamos listos para irnos a huelga.
They're ready to do what it takes.
And with the countdown to kickoff already underway, both sides face mounting pressure to find common ground before the world arrives.
If FIFA really cares a lot about human rights, as they say they do, this is something concrete that they can actually do.
In Inglewood,
they're the backbone of SoFi Stadium.
Lustelia Caballero, CBS LA.
SoFi Management and Legends Global, which manages food and beverage at the stadium, have no comment on the situation. We have also reached out to FIFA and so far waiting to hear back.
And all while this is happening on the ground in Los Angeles, the BBC they're running more stories about the hotel crisis that seems to be taking place. That matters, right? Because it's not just a US media outlet asking whether demand is soft, but it's an international media outlet telling the world that the American World Cup tourism boom may not even materialize.
The hotel industry is sounding the alarm. A trade group says nearly 70% of its hotels in the region report bookings below their expectations. All right, we have live team coverage of the countdown to the World Cup. NBC4's Olivia Garvey is live at SoFi Stadium with the transformation, what the field is going to look like for the first match on June 12th. But first, Alex Rozier live for us in Hollywood, where the economic side of the World Cup is sort of falling flat here. Alex.
Michael, there's some real disappointment and concern because the World Cup is really a global event that people have been looking forward to for years. Now, 1 month from the games beginning at SoFi Stadium, some hotel directors are wondering if their hotels will even fill up.
As excitement builds for World Cup soccer at SoFi Stadium, concern is growing at the Hollywood Hotel.
The truth is in the numbers. You know, I don't make this up. These are facts.
Jeff Zaranum is the hotel director. He shared their projections for the World Cup. He said as of now, in June, they're 37% booked. He expects that'll increase to 65%. In July, they're at 35%. His forecast shows they'll be at 75%. But typically, he says every summer, they are more than 90% booked.
Seeing these low numbers, how are you feeling?
Not too good.
Zaranum also says he subscribes to STR Hotel Research that he says shows hotels across the Hollywood and Beverly Hills region are, on average, at 28% occupancy for the World Cup window.
It's not for the entire city of LA, but you know, Hollywood is a bellwether indicator of what's happening in the city in general. You can attribute it to a few factors.
They're selling primarily to domestic customers. There is a big question about international visitors. Reports of domestic ticket sales and the notoriously difficult U.S. visa process have raised doubts. Host cities were advised to expect a 50-50 split between domestic and international visitors, but hotels prefer international guests because they spend more, stay longer, use more amenities, and contribute more to the local economy. U.S. inbound international travel declined in 2025, a trend noted by U.S. Travel Association CEO Jeff Freeman at the 2026 America's Lodging Investment Summit in January. Freeman questioned if the Trump administration's tourism dampening policies, like the $250 visa integrity fee and proposed social media history requirement for some travelers, would continue. At the same event, Marriott CEO Anthony Capuano suggested the U.S. was not welcoming, stating that travelers' concerns about the customs and immigration experience are, quote, big impediments to the lodging industry's potential success.
BBC Sport reported that the World Cup was supposed to provide a tourism boom for the United States, but now there is fear that it may never materialize. The American Hotel and Lodging Association found bookings are well below expectations in almost every US host city. They said that FIFA block booked too many rooms for its own use, creating what it called false demand, with FIFA cancelling large numbers of rooms that left hotels with a gap where expected visitors were supposed to be. The AHLA said that FIFA's large-scale bookings shaped revenue forecasts, staffing plans, and preparations, but that the policy manufactured artificial demand and masked lower than predicted tourist flow. Up to 70% of rooms reserved by FIFA in Boston, Dallas, LA, Philadelphia, and Seattle have been cancelled. That's a significant number, right? And, well, what happens after that, which I can attest to firsthand, seeing as I'm out here trying to figure out any which way to travel to the places that I want to go to support the mighty Scotland to a plane. Hotels are skyrocketing prices across the board, not just as a means to price gouge, but to try and offset what is bound to be a loss, meaning who ends up paying the price? As usual, the fans. The ones that actually make the game what it is.
A ticket to the U.S. opener costs over $4,000. A semifinal seat in Dallas tops $11,000, and the average resale price for the final is over $16,000. When you add flights, hotels, and transportation, international fans are looking at a trip that can easily run 5 figures, and many are deciding it's not worth it. FIFA President Gianni Infantino was asked about the backlash this week and laughed it off, promising to personally deliver a hot dog to anyone who buys a $2 million ticket to the final. Critics in the hotel industry say FIFA's pricing, combined with tighter immigration enforcement from the US, has turned a generational tourism opportunity into an ordinary summer. But FIFA supporters argue that demand is unprecedented. The organization received over 500 million ticket requests, and prices simply reflect what top-tier American sports cost. So what do you think? Is FIFA outpricing the fans, or is this just the new reality of being a sports fan?
And the BBC specifically noted that hotels cited high match ticket pricing, local transport, and the BBC cited that fans discussed things like high ticket prices, the cost of transport, and the political backdrop as factors putting visitors off. The political backdrop that they're mentioning, well, blame is only in one place. It's Trump's problem, and the LA protest, that makes the hotel crisis worse because it shows visitors that even those at home in those host cities don't feel safe with ICE's presence. And why should they, right? I just reported on this yesterday. According to a political analysis, judges have ruled against Trump's ICE mandatory detention policy more than 10,000 times since the agency expanded mandatory detention. Politico found that judges have rejected ICE detention practices in roughly 90% of the cases that they reviewed. The issue is ICE's expanded use of mandatory detention. Under the policy, immigrants have been detained without normal access to bond or legal release mechanisms that would let them change confinement while cases proceed.
Alex Preddy, when he was shot, his hands were on the ground. He did not have a firearm in his hand. Border Patrol should not have been there.
I feel like our administration wanted this type of escalation. I don't think Renee Good deserved to be killed. We sometimes feel like they're waiting for one of us to be shot and killed.
What did you think about the Alex Preddy shooting?
That one was also particularly traumatic.
Since Trump got into office, there's been 33% less federal agent hours spent pursuing child predators than there was beforehand. Have there been child exploitation cases basically thrown out as a result of moving HSI manpower over to places like Minneapolis to enforce immigration?
There have absolutely been leads uninvestigated or closed out prematurely because we don't have the manpower or the priority. It definitely feels like my purpose has been destroyed. I have no doubt that the American people have lost their faith in us. I lost our faith in us.
Minneapolis is not in a better place than it was before Metro Surge. In fact, it's in a worse place. DHS's shenanigans in Minnesota over the winter cost the city of Minneapolis approximately $200 million in losses, $5 million in police overtime hours, $81 million in lost revenue for local businesses, and workers lost over $47 million in wages.
We were already in such a low morale situation. The way Border Patrol is operating, vigilante-ish, it feels lawless, operating as if anyone who looks like they may have crossed the border or didn't come from here is here illegally. I don't know that they're properly educated on the laws. You can't just see somebody walking on the street and assume that because they're in a Hispanic neighborhood that they are here illegally.
I had another white officer point directly at me like, hey, get his brown ass in line with the other detainees. And that's where it kind of dawned on me like, oh, these guys kind of have something against individuals of color, or at least a few of their staff members do.
The judges have objected to what they describe as unconstitutional detention practices, including cases where detainees were allegedly moved across state lines in ways that made legal challenges harder, with one judge going as far as to describe the agency's behavior as, quote, villainy. Villainy, right? It's not normal judicial language, nor is it something that traveling fans will like to hear coming from judges in one of the host countries. And all of these are just the ramifications of an administration that's out of control.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.